Welcome to Man in America, a voice of reason in a world gone mad. I'm your host, Seth Holhouse. So on this podcast, if you've watched before, you know this, and if you haven't watched, welcome, and you'll soon see this as you look through my video library. I tend to not cover the kabuki theater. I don't like focusing on what happened in DC today, what's going on with Fauci getting torn apart in some hearing. I'm trying to find the stories and the information that I believe to be the most important. And that's part of what my job is. I really look at that as I'm trying to curate information and guests and topics to try to bring you what I think is the really important story that sometimes is being covered, like the Trump assassination attempts, but oftentimes aren't being covered. And my guest today, my good friend J.J. Carroll, who was a border agent for 24 years, what he's talking about and what we're going to be getting into in today's discussion is what I think to be one of the most important and critical topics that's happening right here in this country that affects the future of our country. And unfortunately, it's not being talked about very much. It's what he calls the 50 million illegal immigrant time bomb. And I'll let him explain it as you'll see in the discussion. But to give you just a brief overview, it's a sober look at the number of illegals that came into our country, especially in the past 4.5 years, how those illegals are changing our demographics, how they're going to be changing the districting and the rezoning, how they'll change things politically without even voting, how massive changes will be coming out of this, but also looking at the fact that the vast majority of these illegals are still here. And as JJ will be telling you, what his sources are telling him is we're talking about over 100,000 Chinese troops, okay, on American soil right now, which begs the question, what are they waiting for? Why are they here? They're not here sightseeing. There's something else going on. And so I'll be just talking about all this and much more with JJ. Before we jump into the show today, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy the interview. I want to encourage you, if you like to listen to podcasts instead of watching them, every show that I do also goes up on every podcast app. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. So make sure that you're also checking out your podcast app, subscribing to Man in America there. That way you can listen while driving or building a goat cage, which is one of my next tasks, or whatever it is. So please enjoy the show. Mr. J.J. Carroll. It's been what feels like way too long since you were last on the
Yes.
show, but it's great to have you back on. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me back. And it has been a while, but we always have very robust and passionate discussions. So I'm really excited about coming back on your show.
Absolutely. So one thing I want to hone in with you today, you were a border agent for, I think, what 24 years. And not just,
Yeah.
a single agent on the force. You managed large teams. You saw the whole scope of border operations. You still have a lot of contacts on the border feeding you information. And you've been consistently the most accurate person and the most truthful person that I've come across in terms of understanding the real situation of the illegals in our country. Whereas some people say, oh, well, there's maybe 10 million or there's 15 million or there's this many people. Your numbers are consistently, I think, way more than what the official narrative is. And I find your information to be far more accurate and also knowing your sources. Now, I think what's happening right now is obviously Trump is in the office. We've got control of the House and the Senate. There's all these positive things. And I think some people may put their feet up a little bit. But
hmm
what we were talking about before we started recording, which I want to really focus on, is the ticking time bomb of all of these immigrants that are still in our country. And if you look at the numbers that, Tom Homan's putting out, oh, we deported, 2,000, 1,000. It's like, okay, it's going to take maybe 300 years to get the rest
hmm
of these illegals out of our country, not to mention the fact that they're multiplying faster than Americans. And so the red flag that you're raising right now, which I really want to focus on, because in my opinion is so important that if we don't look at it now, in 3 years, we're going to get blindsided by it, is the fact that there's this massive illegal immigrant voter base that come the next major election, if these people are put in through the census and they're voting now, like, we've lost everything from that. So anyway, I'll let you give yourself a quick introduction, just to, for folks
Okay.
that aren't as familiar with you. But then I'd love to just hear you dive right into how the open border will affect our future elections.
Okay, these are great topics to talk about. Yes, I did 24 years United States Border Patrol. I rose up the ranks not by being an administrative do nothing. I was down in the weeds running task forces, very violent times, running ATV units, and then running a maritime narcotic and human smuggling task force on the coastline from San Diego to Santa Barbara. I worked the complete California corridor, complete border, Arizona border as well. And I rose up the ranks, and my last year in the United States Border Patrol was Joe Biden's first year, and I retired as a deputy patrol agent in charge. So I was like 25 agents out of 2,500 in San Diego sector. So I was at about a 2,000-foot view. So I saw everything that was coming in from DC coming down to the sector level, and me going to my station to push it out. So I witnessed the treason firsthand. Now, and I'm glad you phrased this the way you did, a ticking time bomb, because what the left, and I want to include the left as the rhinos and the globalist elite that want to globally reset the world. We have 50 million illegal aliens in America right now. And people right away scoff and go, JG, 50. And I go, okay, let me take 1 minute and tell you how I get to 50 million. And the fact that everyone in the immigration world, to include the politicians, agree with this, even though they'll tell you something different. They've been on record saying the truth. In 2019, MIT and Yale did a demographic study on the number of illegal aliens in America. And they jammed all this demographic data into an algorithm, and they ran that algorithm 1 million times, and it came with the high of 29 million illegal aliens in America, and the median, the average 22 million, and everyone admitted 22 million. The day before this was released, everyone in the media and politics were saying it's 11 million. And I was saying it's been 11 million for a decade. The number's closer to 30 million, but let's just go with 22. Everyone agreed 22 million. That was in 2019. In 4 years, Joe Biden allowed in 30 million illegal aliens. 30 million. If you don't want to trust me and you somehow believe that this government that has lied to you for over 100 years is going to tell you the truth, then let's play the game that you're an idiot and you believe the government. The government admits to 18 million people coming into America. 4.5 million people every single year for 4 years. So you take that 18 million plus the 22, you're at 40 million. We're splitting hairs between me saying 50 to 52 million and you saying 40. Are you okay with 40 million people being in your country illegally? So we can play the nuance of JJ's a liar and the government's absolutely the greatest thing in the world. And they tell you the truth. But what you don't understand is, and I've written this in my book Treason that just came out, I take the problem of 50 million people and I overlay the birth rates on top of that. And I go through and I show you everyone that's come in the country illegally. The birth rates are 2 to 5 times that of American citizens. Our women are not even reproducing at the replacement level, Seth. So we're dying population, you're bringing in millions of people a year, then you're overlaying the birth population. Now, this is where it gets, I think, crazy, is why does the Democrats already started lawsuits to include illegal aliens in the 2030 census? No other planet on Earth actually counts anyone outside of the citizens living in their country. Why? Because that's who you're responsible for. But the Democrats want to take all illegal aliens and put them in the census. Why? Because the vast majority of the illegal aliens are residing in blue cities and states. So then, when the 2030 census comes out, they will reappropriate the House seats. And what they say that when they get done, at least 60 seats will flip from the Republicans to Democrats. 60 seats. We're sitting, Seth, on a 3-seat majority, and we're like clapping. Yes, we got it. If they win, meaning they win by Donald Trump does not finish his job, they will change America. It will never be the same. They'll have 60 seats in the House and then it is over. Elon Musk said this multiple times, and quote, you will never be able to vote yourself out of this situation. And he's right.
So it's not necessarily about all the illegals voting, because even with voter ID and everything, it's about the fact that the census, which then a lot of our political positions are tied to the amount of people, that's what
Hmm.
changes everything, is when they say, "Oh, wow, we've got another 40 million people living in
Hmm.
these Democrat strongholds." That is what drastically shifts the voting map. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. Now, are you having voter fraud? Yes, because all the NGOs as illegals came in the last 4 years were signing up to vote. And then the legals would leave the shelters or the hotels, and then the hotels and shelters would get millions of mail-in ballots, right? That's always going to be a problem until Donald Trump, which he's doing now through executive orders, begins to clean up the voter rolls, et cetera, et cetera. However, the long game, the bigger game is changing the electoral, meaning, so let's look at it in real time, Seth. Donald Trump wins. He's so excited. I'm going to do all this. Oh, you have 60-seat majority of Democrats in the House. They're never going to release the purse to him. He's a lame duck. So every president past Donald Trump in 2030 will be worthless unless you're a Democrat. And then if the Democrats are able to get a part of the Senate somehow, it's game over, dude. It's over. I think once they flip these seats to 60 to the Democrats, we may retain the name the United States of America. We're never going to be the United States of America again. We will go into a headstrong socialist. And people say, well, really, what does that look like? Can you give me an example? And I'm going to go back to, I think, 2006, when the great Pat Buchanan wrote the book, The Suicide of the West. And he says, you want to know what this all looks like? Look at California. Look at California. So now you have dual allegiance, meaning the people that are in the House and Senate inside the state of California have dual allegiance with Mexico and Central America. What does it look like now? California spent 9.7 billion, that's with a B, on illegal alien healthcare. Healthcare. I don't think it's that one. It's Suicide of West Jonah Goldberg.
A
I
different
think it
one.
was, it's Pat Buchanan. The great Pat Buchanan wrote this. I think it was a Suicide of the West. I could be not giving it the right title. I apologize, but Pat Buchanan
Oh,
wrote
the
this
death
book,
of the West. There you
The
go.
Death of the West. Excuse
Here it
me.
is.
Yes, and inside it he calls it the suicide. Yes, the Death of the West. Thanks for
No, here, what's
checking me
funny
on
is
that.
actually looks like what I purchased it in 2020.
Oh, did you?
So it's sitting up in our library somewhere. I haven't read it.
Yeah. Oh, you need to read it because he's the greatest historian that's living. I know he's toward the end of his life right now. You don't even hear about him, but he predicts. I'm reading this book. I think I was reading it in 2006-ish, something like that, 2007, and I'm reading it, Seth, and I'm like, oh my God, everything he said that was going to happen is happening in real time. Like all the statistical uh, estimates are happening. And he's right. This is what's happening to our nation. Our nation is going to flip into a socialist. So, can you imagine another 60 AOCs or Jasmine Crockett? I mean, that's what we're looking at.
So I mean, it's really
And
it's not just about filling up the voter rolls and everything. It's that long term, this is the
mhm,
great replacement, right? It's that America in say 30 years won't look like America. As a white man, I will be the absolute minority in this country if this trend continues. Correct?
yeah, but do you know that Joe Biden said that when he was vice president? I have it in my book where he says, and it has on video, sitting right next to him is Alejandro Mayorkas with this stupid grin on his face, the Secretary of DHS, who was the deputy secretary under Obama. And I'm going to almost quote Joe Biden. He says, "We are going to have unrelenting waves of immigration." And of course, he never makes that distinction illegal. He just broad brushes it. All of it's immigration. And we all love immigration, right? No, no, no. We love legal. But I digress. We're going to have unrelenting waves of immigration, so much so that the Anglo-Saxon male or the Anglo-Saxon American will be the minority in their own country. And quote, that is not a bad thing.
America is under siege. You've seen the headlines: terror attacks, chaos, and whispers of coordinated threats. Intelligence insiders and whistleblowers are sounding the alarm. For years, the border's been wide open, allowing dangerous groups of terrorists, cartels, even foreign soldiers to infiltrate our nation. The deep state doesn't want you prepared. And even with Trump coming back in charge, smooth sailing certainly is not guaranteed. Experts are warning us disruptions are coming, chaos is just around the corner. Think about it. What would you do if another pandemic hits? Or if our grid goes dark? Or if coordinated attacks erupt across our country overnight? Right now is the time to act while you still can. Your family's survival depends on having a secure food supply. That is why Heaven's Harvest exists. Heaven's Harvest offers the highest quality, long term, storable food, delicious, nutritious, and designed to last up to 25 years. Imagine the peace of mind knowing that you have 3, 6, or even 12 months of food ready for any emergency. Don't wait for the shelves to go empty or for the next attack to catch you off guard. Take control now. Go to heavensharvest.com and secure your supply. Use promo code SETH, that's SETH, for an exclusive 15% discount on your entire order. Picture this: your family is safe, secure, and well fed while chaos unfolds outside. That security starts today. Heaven's Harvest, because tomorrow isn't promised. Protect your family by preparing today. Visit heavensharvest.com right now and use promo code SETH to save 15% off. Don't wait until it's too late. Your family is depending on you.
Well, hold on a second. Why is that not a bad thing? Did you vote for, did I vote for our demographics to be completely upended? No. And I want to make this clear because I know the very first pushback, Seth, is going to be, you're a racist, you're a big white guy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. You're an idiot. Let me tell you statistically what I'm talking about. There's 195 nations on planet Earth. The Border Patrol arrest data shows over 180 nationalities, meaning the entire Earth came to America illegally. So we can talk about every skin tone you can imagine is here in America. We're not talking about a demographic racial shift. We're talking about a demographic upheaval of citizens to non-citizens. But at the same time, yes, the white population will become a minority in their own country. Now, and people say, well, I don't mind, I'm black. And I have this discussion with a lot of black individuals that have me on their shows, and I say to them, do you know that you are not the number one minority in America? And they look at me like I got two heads, and I go, you don't know that, do you? And they're like, I've never heard that. I said, well, because your federal government artificially brought in millions, tens of millions of illegal aliens from Latin America and Mexico, you are now the number 3. And they're stunned. And I go, well, why do you think you don't have that leverage anymore? Because you had artificially destroyed the population of America. And it's true.
Here's the clip. I found it. Check it out.
I would argue it's unlike any other large country in the world. So there's a second thing in that black box: an unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. Non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
Source of our strength. And I write this in my book. I do. I wrote that verbatim in my book. And I say, source of strength. Explain to me, you jackass, how is that a source of strength? By diluting the American population with third worlders. No one's ever been able to explain to me, and since I was in the border for 24 years, and I always ask the question, because you don't know what it's like to speak to an illegal alien. You don't know what it looks like to look at somebody that is illiterate in their own language. They don't know how to spell their name. They don't know their birth date. And when I tell them, I need you to sign your name, they can't. So I give them a pencil or a pen, and they make a mark. And they can't even make a straight line mark because they've never used a pencil or a pen before. And there are tens of millions of them in our country. And we're shocked that our social services are been destroyed that our federal government has utilized USAID to fund international NGOs with hundreds of billions of dollars, and then we funneled hundreds of billions of dollars through DHS to FEMA to the domestic NGOs. Our government funded our death. Just like Patrick Buchanan talked about the death of the West, this is the suicide of America, and we paid for it. We pulled the trigger to our own gun to put a bullet in our head. It's amazing. And the more people I talk to, the more I realize they don't understand. They don't understand what has transpired for decades, but more so in the last 4 years for the global reset to take effect. Seth, you and I talked about this quite a bit. How do you do a global restructuring with America still as the giant? You can't. You can't. But if you take the giant down, then everything, the whole world becomes different overnight. And that's what they're banking on.
Absolutely crazy. So I'm looking, do you know how many, I'm trying to do some research, how many illegals Trump has deported so far? I can't find the information quickly.
Well, Tom Homan has said that there are closer to 44,000 right now. Now, I think this is a great segue into, look, I'm the biggest MAGA Donald Trump. I'm a Republican because I have to. I voted for Trump in spite of the R next to his name. I voted for him, the MAGA king, and I'm the biggest Tom Homan supporter. However, I'm going to be always intellectually honest. Donald Trump has shut the border down, and he needed to do that. It's like your house is flooding. What do? Do you start siphon the water out, or do you shut the main off? You shut the main off. That's what he did. However, Seth, the arrest and deportations from the interior are anemic. If we stay on this pace, it will take 150, 200 years to deport everybody, meaning it's not going to happen. So Donald Trump has to accelerate it, and the only way he's going to accelerate it is by the multiple ways, but one way is the military. And people recoil at that. Military on our soil. And I go, what's your alternative? Your alternative is a slow dying death of cancer? Or are we going to go in there and eradicate that cancer from your body? It's going to be painful. It's going to suck. It's going to be uncomfortable. But when it's over, you're going to be able to stay alive and then prosper. Your choice. Which one do you want? That's how I think Donald Trump has to present this to America. And then I believe Donald Trump has to accelerate, I believe, the deportations, arrests and deportations from the interior every day need to average between 10 and 15,000. Right now, we're doing 30 arrests a day per state. Come on, man. Come on. That's even Donald Trump said, this is not working. Acting ICE director, within 30 days, you're fired. Tom Homan's come out and said, actually, this week, we've arrested 44,000 illegal aliens. That's not even close to being enough. So I'm not bagging on Donald Trump and Tom Homan. I'm just repeating what those men have said, and I'm telling you, I agree with it wholeheartedly. I don't believe, through my sources, that Tom Homan is he's not being funded properly, and he doesn't have the personnel and manpower. I would do things very differently. I don't. Let me give you an example, Seth. The reason why you have to use 6 or 10 ICE agents, FBI agents, Border Patrol, combination thereof, to go find one illegal alien criminal, because they're in apartment complexes, shelters, so the probability of agents getting hurt, shot, or killed are exponentially higher, especially when people are tipping off the people that they're coming, right? At the same time, when I film my documentary, I could go to 10 different shelters right now, and within 1 week, arrest 40,000 people. In one single day, I could go down to the neighborhood called Clinton in the middle of New York City, and I could arrest 6,000 single adult military-age men in hours. But they don't do that. And my question to the audience and to the world is why? Why are we doing onesies and twosies when I could give you 6,000 right now? 6,000 in 24 hours, I would have them. Not even 24 hours, I would have it. I would go to the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City, and I would arrest 5,000 men, women, and children at 3 o'clock in the morning and deport their asses out of my country that fast. Donald Trump has to make a declaration of national emergency. He's going to have to ignore all these courts. He's going to have to proudly and with force use his executive privilege and his executive authority. If he dances around, this is all going to be for naught because of what we talked about at the very beginning. This is a ticking time bomb, and no one will acknowledge that this is a ticking time bomb. And I've started to pound the drum. Understand, the left has left a bomb in the middle of America, and they don't have to do anything. They just have to wait. Wait Donald Trump out, put roadblocks with lawyers and attorneys and judges. Now let's just sit and wait for it to explode. And when it does, we win. We win. And I'm going to tell you, and I say this in my book, I applaud you, left. I applaud you. You are determined. You believe in what you're doing, and you do it. You are everything the Republicans are not. I hate you. I hate the left. But I, as an honest man, to my adversary, I have to say, damn good job, guys. You guys did it, and you're almost going to win. You're this close to winning, and we all know it.
So it's like they're playing a long game in this.
Mm-hmm.
All the Soros-funded NGOs and the globalist organizations moving all these people into our country. It wasn't something that is, oh, okay, we'll make sure that Trump doesn't get back in. Like, this is literally, it's a time bomb that goes off in, say, 10 years that no one knows how to disarm. Or you could say that no one is even attempting to actually disarm it in a way that means anything. Because, and we haven't even talked about the security threat of this. Because thankfully, right, knock on wood, we're a few months into Trump's presidency, and we haven't had some sort of mass terrorist attack. And that's the thing, is that when you look at how critical our infrastructure is, whether it's the grid, our food supplies, there's so many aspects of the modern day American life that are so easy to target. All it would take is, even if you had say you had 100 special operators, special force operators from China, and say you had 3-man teams in key regions around the country. Just those 100 people could probably take down the majority of our grid. I mean, it's that. I mean, this is serious. This is this is the whole other threat that isn't even related to the population change and the Great Replacement. Just looking at the fact that these people are still here in our country. I mean, honestly, I think it's a miracle that we haven't had something like this happen yet. We haven't had any dirty bombs go off in big cities. We haven't had any attacks on our grid. I mean, to me, it's like God is protecting this nation, but the question is, how long is that protection going to last?
This is a great segue, because when you look at the total, this is not my numbers, okay? This is the federal government through their website said in 4 years, we arrested through the Border Patrol, not the fly-ins, not the getaways that bring us 18 million that they admit to, just the people that the Border Patrol arrested, 12 million approximately. They released 95 to 97% of the 12 million. Released them into the streets. 1 million Venezuelans, 500,000 Haitians, 200,000 Russians, 200,000 Chinese nationals. With the people that I interviewed, with all the alphabets behind their names, so you can just figure out who they are, they said that they have identified over 100,000 PLA soldiers in America. Over 200,000
Chinese
PLA soldiers. Yes, I have it written in my book, and I have it cited. Listen, I can take, not anecdotal, I can take eyewitness testimony from people like Michael Yon and Ruckmaker and all those other guys that have been down the Darien Gap, sending me pictures, calling me and saying, dude, it's one soldier after another. Reports of numerous people, same haircut, same clothes, same backpack, same IDs, same tattoos. What do we call those in America? Soldiers. I've seen all the videos. Everyone openly admits that China has brought in their military. Why wouldn't they? I do in my whole chapter in my book about this, talking about what that must have looked like when the generals in China had to brief Xi Jinping. I mean, they had to have been freaking out that there's no way Xi Jinping's going to believe that our government opened our borders, allowed their soldiers to come in, and then we fly them, educate them, provide food and shelter, and we give them cash money. So you don't even, CCP, have to do anything. You don't have to move supplies. In fact, I made this something great to talk about too, is the fact that the marijuana black market is run by the Chinese nationals. Why is that important? Because in Maine, there's 270 known marijuana plants. In Oklahoma, there's over 3,000 marijuana grows, all by international mafia groups, with 80% of them are Chinese national criminal organizations. Why is that important? Because they're cash crop, and they fund all the CCP nefarious stuff in America, so CCP doesn't have to wire money in, truck it in, don't have to do anything. How much are we talking about? We're talking about almost $40 billion a year in marijuana black market that Chinese own. Holy mother of God. 200,000+ special interest aliens, those are terrorists, were arrested and released into America. 200,000. And you go, well, JJ, how do you know that? What do you mean, how do I know that? The Border Patrol arrest data says there are 200+ special interest aliens. All of my friends calling me, sending me pictures of groups of 2,000 in one station on the border of California. 2,000. Here's just one picture, a giant picture. JJ, all these men are from the Middle East and continent Africa. They're all terrorists, all of them. We're releasing all of them. You go to Sean Ryan's podcast and you watch Sarah Adams give the statement. She says, I'm telling you with 100% certainty, and she's a terrorist tracker. She wrote The Betrayal of Benghazi. Highly, highly intelligent, highly experienced. No one even argues. She says, I'm telling you with 100% certainty that Al-Qaeda has at least 1,000 of their fighters in America right now. They've already been trained, they're physically outfitted, and they already know what they're going to do. And October 7th was a dry run for America. Sean Ryan had to stop his podcast and say, hold on. You have to say that again. Are you 100% sure? I'm 100% sure. Minimum 1,000. I'm telling you, from my experience, all my data, all my research, she's 100% correct. But the number of terrorists are not 200,000. I would bet a year's salary it's 1 million. 1 million. And when you begin to, let me tell you how this works. My son, 13 years old, we have this discussion about terrorism and the terrorist watch list. What is the terrorist watch list, Dad? And I said, it's a document that has the names of known terrorists. He says, so that's all the terrorists in the world. I said, no, Joseph, no. That's just what's on the watch list. I said, son, there's 8 billion people on planet Earth. To assume that there's a document with every single terrorist in there, that means our federal government has gone to every person in the world and vetted them. And he goes, well, that's absurd, Dad. And I said, that's what I'm trying to impose, which I'm trying to explain to you, son. The terrorist watch list is just an arbitrary document that just, what do they has? 100,000, 200, 2 million names on it? There's 8 billion people. I'm looking at 12 million people across the border were identified and released into America, with 200,000 tagged as special interest aliens that are terrorists. Our government did this to us, Seth. Seth, I'll go one step further. The CBP ICE took a subset of the 12 million, of subset of 7 million people, and they put them on the non-detained docket. All that means is they were deportable and they released them into America. In that information dump, ICE admitted, and this is so grossly inaccurate, but this is what they admitted, that 662,000 and change of that 7 million were criminal aliens, and they released them all into America. Inside the 662,000, Seth, 15,000 were convicted murderers, meaning I arrested this guy, I enrolled him as a Border Patrol agent, and the computer says to me, JJ, whoa, this guy is a convicted murderer, and what do? I released a convicted murderer into America. It gets better. In the 662,000 the ICE admits to releasing, 16,000 were sexual predators. Of the 16,000, between 11 and 13,000 were convicted rapists. Convicted rapists, and we let them in our country. I tell people, you take that 15,000 murders and you take the 16,000 sexual predators and rapists and you spin that up and you multiply it by 100. That's what you have in your country right now at 50 million. You have over 1 million plus rapists, over 1 million plus murders. You have millions of gang members. You have 1 million terrorists. You have at least 100,000 PLA soldiers. Tren de Aragua. Trump was right. Venezuela dumped their prisons and their insane asylums. They're all here. America has never been this vulnerable, Seth, ever in her history.
And so this information has to be reaching Trump. So you mentioned before the military and how they need to be using the military, and how some people say, oh, okay, well, that's military on our own soil. But, look in my notes here, I've got 100,000 PLA soldiers, right? Okay, right there you go. Not to mention all the others you mentioned. Is the military the only way? Because to me, that's when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, this is a massive operation. Not to mention, it's one thing to arrest, say, Jose the plumber, who's here illegally, and he has his family, and he's, probably working hard and under the table to maintain here and trying to, kind of stay hidden. He's not going to put up a gunfight. But 100,000 PLA soldiers that are here as part of a military operation, like they're not here sightseeing. They're here as part of a military operation. I'm sure they have massive weapon caches inside the country already. I'm sure. I'm sure you know that way more than I do. I'm sure they have communication and comms that we're not accessing, that they have ways of communicating back with the head base back in Beijing. So do you think these people are just going to be like, oh, sorry, sorry, Commander, the ICE agent came and he arrested my buddies and I. We were playing Mahjong one night. They came in, and so we're going to go peacefully. I mean, these are soldiers that are here on a mission. And you don't put soldiers behind enemy lines unless your mission is to, at some point, put that call through your radio system, put that code out that says, okay, it's go time.
That's all they're waiting for, Seth. And I always like to play this game. The people that I spoke to are wrong, and I'm wrong. So let's play that I'm 90% wrong. Okay, I'll admit I'm 90% wrong. I'm crazy about the PLA soldiers. That still leaves 10,000. You're okay with 10,000 PLA soldiers? I'm saying there's 1 million terrorists. The government says that's 200,000. Let's say we're all crazy. All of us are crazy. 200,000. We're 90% wrong. 20,000? You're okay with 20,000 terrorists? Let's say we're 99% wrong. You're okay with 2,000 terrorists being in America? Do you see how the absurdity of this gets? Like, if you want to argue with me about numbers and then I start to concede, okay, you're right. I fabricated it all. Even though I documented ad nauseum in my book, I fabricated it all. Okay, how much did I fabricate? Well, you have to be 90% off. Okay, so 10,000 PLA soldiers, you're good with that. And then it's silence, Seth. And look, you have Gordon Chang saying it out loud. You have another person named Brian O'Shea, who's a Chinese expert. And I asked Brian O'Shea, and he was a former embedded analyst in the Special Forces, disabled veteran, blown up, I think it was in Afghanistan. And he says, JJ, stop thinking of the PLA soldiers as their battalion. And he said exactly what you said. It's going to be a small group with a sergeant, maybe 7, 8 guys. They're not going with suicide vests to blow up. They're going to go in and attack our grid, or they're going to go in. I said, tell me what it looks like in real time. He said, okay, JFK Airport, 7 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, packed, thousands of people. 10 guys roam in with their AKs or the M4s, and they start plinking. 1,000. Kill. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Kill 1,000, extract. Then another person goes and tears down our electrical grid. Then the other person that dilutes the water. He says America will be in chaos. They're waiting for their go. Sarah Adams, 1,000 Al Qaeda terrorists. She said, those are not ISIS. Understand, ISIS will be embedded in them. They'll blow themselves up. But the Al Qaeda are there to kill as many Americans as possible, not kill themselves. And she said, all they're waiting for is the go. That's it. It's not, well, they're here. No, they're here. Are they outfitted? Yes. Do they have their targets? Yes. Then what are they waiting for? And she says, I don't know. But I do know it's just a matter of getting the green light and it's go time. Here's the thing, maybe to show why I'm so frustrated. There's no sense of urgency, Seth. Let me give you an example. Maine has 270 grows that are run by illegal alien Chinese. They've identified them. Where's the DA? Where's the state local combination with DA eradicating that? You have 3,000 in Oklahoma, red state Oklahoma, and they just act like, well, it's just the way there's going to be. You know why they don't want to do anything, Seth? Because they're all heavily armed and it's going to be a freaking bloodbath. So what we do, we just turn a blind eye. That's what your government's done. Your government is our government is the enemy. Our government has allowed this to happen. We're mired in a cesspool of corruption. And it's now, which I'm very thankful, and you and I talked about this briefly before, I don't take any joy in being right. I wish I was wrong. However, through Doge and through Donald Trump's executive actions, it has been proven what you and I are discussing is true. It's already been exposed. It's not even, well, JJ, you're a crank and conspiracy theorist, talking to Seth, who's a prepper, and he thinks the end times are coming. No, you idiots. It's already been laid out. USAID funded everything. Our government gave no money to North Carolina victims. Donald Trump shuts down FEMA. FEMA, the COO of FEMA, after the directive to not give any more money to illegal aliens, sneaks out a check for $56 million for illegal aliens in a hotel in New York City. $56 million. How much do you think before Trump was diverted to illegal aliens? And I'll give you that number. It was over $1 trillion in 4 years. Not my numbers. That's the Biden administration. God, Seth, we are in dire. And you have a huge platform with incredible following, a large following, way bigger than mine. If I could just impress upon your audience, I want you to fact check everything that I said, and you're going to be shocked to realize that your country has been sold for 30 pieces of silver by traitors in our government, and we have never, ever been this vulnerable, ever, in the history of America.
Man, which this is a really good wake up call, because you go on Twitter, which is a lot of times the town square, and what you see is, oh my goodness, there $20 million was going to transgender rat ballerina training in Uzbekistan, right? And you have all these things. It's like, of course, yeah, but no one's talking about this. And this is, again, this is what I try to do. When I'm trying to curate the guests and the content I'm covering, I'm trying to talk about the things that matter. I'm really trying to. Like, that's why you don't look at my thumbnails and see Nancy Pelosi got torn apart, or look at Fauci in this hearing and he got destroyed by Rand Paul. It's just like, it's all kabuki theater. It's all a distraction. Even honestly, I think the whole transgender thing and all that kind of stuff is a giant distraction. I'm not saying it's false, it's real. But I think what they've done is that they've inundated us with problems to try to get people to solve that actually aren't going to save our country. Maybe long term, of course, but these are just distractions. It's like if you're an enemy and you're taking over someone's, say you're taking over a homestead or taking over some sort of fortified area. You go light the grain stuff on fire. Everyone goes over there and they're all putting the fire out. And before you know it, they've got special forces in the king's chamber assassinating the king and everything, because everyone's distracted over there. And not that those aren't real problems, but I expect that our eyes are off the ball. And the thing is I wish someone would just write a book about this. I wish someone would write a book documenting the treason of these criminals. What do you think, JJ?
I think that guy is me, and I wrote a book called Treason, and it's been a bestseller for the first 3 weeks out of the first month that it came out. And this is my book. This is a book that I wrote about everything you and I are talking about today. And like we talked about the professional validation that I've received from Doge and from Donald Trump by exposing the USAID, by exposing the NGOs, exposing the treason of allowing 30 million people into our nation. Everything I wrote is cited. I have, I think, like 200, maybe 100 something, 160, 200 citations in my book. And everything is real. It's either what I wrote about is from hardline experience, researching for my other book, researching this and doing my documentaries, and it's all there. And I wish I wasn't writing a book about treason. I wish Joe Biden created Doge and got rid of all the fraud. I wish the left was not the enemy of America. I wish our government was not the premier violator of our trust and destroying our sovereignty. But they're not. They are traitors. And I'm talking both parties too. Understand the Democrats have done what they've done because the Republicans funded it. Let me just give you one example. Speaker Johnson gave NGOs that he knew were trafficking both adults and children in the first CR under the control of the Republican Party, funded the NGOs by $9.7 billion. And that's for weeks. So you get an understanding of how much the NGOs were making. And you want to talk about, I know we're pushing up on time, but you're talking about the kabuki theater of testifying. I went in front of Congress and testified in November about child sex trafficking. You want to talk about an absolute waste of my time and how infuriated I was being there. I was making the testimony that right now, as you and I are talking, thousands of children, UACs, unaccompanied alien children, were being raped. And you know what their response was? It looks like we're out of time. We're adjourned. Oh, God, get me out of here. I knew then that the people that are running our government are the dumbest people in our population, and that we need the very smallest government that we absolutely can endure.
I couldn't agree more. So JJ, I'll put the link to your book in the description for the show. Treason, bestseller on Amazon. Also, your website, jjcarroll.com, which I'll also put in the link below. Your last name, Carrell. So jjcarrell.com. I encourage people to check out your website. You've also got a podcast. I've had you on numerous times before. You have an amazing podcast, which I will also put in the description as well, so people can be watching and listening to your shows. And yeah, JJ, I wish that today's conversation was about, wow, we're in the golden age, and gosh, I can walk down the streets of a big city and not smell marijuana and seeing bums pooping everywhere. And but unfortunately, our country's not there yet. It needs some pretty drastic action to clean it up. And I thank you for being out there banging the drum and trying to bring attention to the issues that I think are the greatest threat to our country. It's not transgender rat studies in Uzbekistan. It's what's happening right here on our own soil. So thank you for being here, and thank you for doing what you're doing. And I encourage everyone who's watching, go buy your book, right? That's one of the best ways people can support what you're doing and help get you to the funding to grow and to do the next biggest thing and get more of this information out there is to support your book. And again, I'll be buying it when we finish up with this. And I hope everyone else is doing that as well.
Thank you very much, Seth. I love our discussions. And one day, I think very soon, if we continue to push the envelope, I think we can get our country back. But it's going to be a battle. We're in for the soul of our country. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So I hope that wasn't too heavy of an interview for you. But my perspective is that, look, I want to know the truth. Okay. If the doctor comes in, he's like, well, I've got good news and bad news. I say, look, give me the bad news first, because I'm going to figure out how to deal with it, and I'll take the good news. Okay. So that discussion, I wouldn't even say it's the bad news. It's just the reality. There's a lot of really good things happening in our country right now. There's some amazing movements and this massive revitalization towards reviving the values of 1776. However, our country has a lot of enemy combatants in it. And this is just part of the reality of living in America right now, is that our country's been under attack for, really since its founding, since 1776. And even before then, we have had foreign enemies looking for ways to infiltrate, dismantle, divide, and ultimately destroy this country. And I think this, what we just talked about, is one of the biggest ones. Now, this is also why I'm writing a book on prepping, which is I'll keep you updated. We're kind of putting up the finishing touches. We're just finishing the cover design. We've got some amazing stuff coming, that's been coming out with the book Prep Like Noah, which I'm very excited about, because I don't think that we're at a place we can kick our feet back and think, oh, President Trump's going to take care of things. I actually think that we are in the most precarious time in history since the founding of this country. Honestly, I think that the next like 3-4 years are potentially going to be very ugly. And I'm not a doomsday kind of guy. I've got a lot of hope, but I'm also really, really focused on preparing. And that's why one of my big missions is to help people be prepared. So keep an eye out for that book. But one thing I want to talk to you about, just as it relates to preparedness, something that I overlooked for years, is communication. So part of it, we look at, if all these terrorist cells, even a couple, if they attack, I can almost guarantee you one of the key things that they're going to be targeting is our communication infrastructure. So your cell phone, your landline, if you still have a landline, even your internet, cutting out communication. If you look at war and the manuals of war, it's one of the first things you try to do is, if you're attacking an area, you cut the communication out so that people cannot even communicate to each other. Once you do that, it's just divide and conquer. And this is why I'm a huge believer in satellite phones. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, this is one of the last things I came to my prepping journey. I made sure I had the food and the water and the medicine and the guns and the bullets and all those other supplies. And it was actually through my research lately, it kind of hit me. It's like, man, like, I don't have any kind of alternative communication. I've got 6 different generators, yet if the cell towers go, I have no way of communicating. And so I'm very, very happy to work with Satellite Phone Store, the website SAT123. And honestly, like, if you're someone that has even a little bit of a concern about being prepared, this is one of the single most important things that you can get. I just got a bivy stick for my wife and I, and a sat phone for us. We've both got them. They're way more affordable than you'd ever imagine. It's actually, I think my satellite phone bill is less than my cell phone bill every month. So check it out. Go to sat123.com. Again, it's sat123.com. And you even get just a bivy stick, which is a little stick that you can use to connect your cell phones to. So you can actually text even with the cell towers are down. You can still send text messages, access a map, and a few other different apps as well. So you can get bivy sticks on there, or you can get like a basic sat phone, which is what I have, just a basic satellite phone. Because again, if there is an attack on our country, which unfortunately, it's, as much as I don't want to be going down that path of thinking about that, why are all these people in our country? Why are all these terrorists here? Why are all these PLA soldiers here? They're not here to go camping in the Grand Canyon. I'm sorry, right? There's some sort of plan that they have that we don't know about. And if I was a guessing man, or if I was a betting man, I would say that there's a good chance that plan involves taking out our communication. So again, SAT123, get a sat phone, get little Faraday bags. They're EMP proof. Just set it and forget it. Because the one time that something happens and you need to reach your family or reach your kids or whatever it is, or call for emergency help, if you have that, it will be a lifesaver. So thank you, take care, and God bless. Numbers don't lie. The impact that Balance of Nature makes every single day is astounding. You can see the numbers for yourself at their website, balanceofnature.com. So listen to these stats concerning Balance of Nature's worldwide success. More than 1,000 success stories are reported each month. Hundreds of thousands of customers worldwide. Millions of orders delivered each year. And billions, yes, billions of fruits and veggie supplements consumed by people who've decided to start living better. There's only one number missing. That's you. Do what I did and add yourself to these numbers. Start taking Balance of Nature's whole food supplements, like so many others around the world. Here's another number that should get your attention: 35%. Use my discount code SETH to get 35% off, plus free shipping and their money-back guarantee. You must use my discount code SETH. So call them at 800-2468-751 and use the discount code SETH, or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use discount code SETH to get 35% off plus free shipping.